Greetings. Greetings. Welcome to a new episode of Art Matters. I'm your host, Wayne Quackenbush. This is our first show of the year, so Happy New Year, everybody. Even though we're timeless in our endeavors here, I'd like to introduce my first guest, one of two today. This is Kelley Donnelly.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Good to
we
be
met
here.
recently in Newport, and I think I've been friends with you on Facebook somehow for quite a while.
A few years, for sure.
And we've kind of followed each other there, but I wasn't really aware of what you were doing until we spoke to face. Now,
and I walk by the comic book store every day with my dog.
yes. and
You're very close to my house.
See the artwork and things like that. And yeah, so I'm very happy and excited because I was looking at your website and very, very pleased at the work that you've been doing. So how did you get started in this direction?
I think I had art in my DNA, honestly. I always drew as a kid, like never thinking anything of, I just would draw and draw and draw and draw. And then I had a rough start. And then I started engaging in other things that put sort of art as not a priority. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to go to art school, but I did not end up going to art school. I sort of barely got through school. And didn't graduate. It took me a while to graduate. Went to a few schools, but and I knew I wanted to do art. It just didn't seem possible. It just didn't seem like it was something I could do. I was kind of a mess, really. Mm-hmm. There's no other softer, easier way to say that. I was kind of a mess, and I just didn't have many hopes in my life to do much of anything. I didn't have any self-confidence, or didn't think I could even had the right to do art. Honestly, I know it sounds strange, but that's how I thought. And then I kind of just kept going through life, and I would draw and I would kind of paint, but nothing serious. And then I moved to DC, and I had gotten a job there, but I wasn't not art related. I was doing I shouldn't say that. I was doing graphic design. I had gotten that certification at RISD. Did graphic design, and I did that, and then I moved to DC and did that for a little bit, and then. I started painting when I lived in DC, and I don't know, I didn't know what to paint. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do with the canvas? Like, I really didn't know. Like, do I take a vase? Or I had no clue. Like, I just didn't know. And so I started painting dogs, and I kind of did like funny dogs, and then I started selling those. But that wasn't my heart. It would take me, 20 more years to get my style. It was just a constant.
So are you finding that art is fulfilling something for you?
Oh, art is everything.
Yeah.
Art is everything to me. I don't think I could have gotten through this life without it.
I mean, a lot of times people find that their early education will kind of beat that desire out of them.
And yeah, I didn't have that early education in terms of art. I didn't go to art school, and I always had that regret, but I've done more artwork, I think, than, I prolifically paint. I have for the last 10 years solid.
Was it something that sparked you? I mean, did you, just get down to the nitty gritty of it. Did you see someone's dog and said, oh, I could do a painting of that dog, and then go from there?
I think I had a dog, so that was what sparked the first painting. Like, okay, well, I have a dog, I'll just do a dog. And then obviously it evolved, because as much as I love animals, I have 3 right now. It's not what I wanted to paint. And people would always be like, well, can you paint my dog? And I'd be like, not really.
So you didn't want to go out and start doing pet portraits for people?
No, nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't what was calling me.
Now, what I've been seeing, though, is that you're not very representative in what you do. You're not mimicking reality. You're kind of going with your feelings and emotions and expressing them in a way that doesn't necessarily reflect a photograph, or you're not painting ponds or bridges or landscapes. You're not doing portraits, things like that. And you have certainly a passion in what you're showing. Would you want to start with this
Sure.
painting, or do you want to start with something from the floor?
So this is a little simpler one. So I tend to obviously put quite a bit of information.
You kind of bring that
this
in
way?
front of you and
Yeah.
keep it so that Myra's can focus on
Yeah.
it.
Is this good?
And
So
we got some kind of collage stuff
Yeah.
going on, and you have the
stencils. I love the
Yeah.
stencils and just some patterns.
Are you familiar with Larry Rivers? There was a painter in the 60s who
No.
did stuff like that. You might want to look
Oh, really?
him up.
Larry
he did,
Rivers.
He did stencils. He did, sometimes he'd throw in like a partial figure, and then he'd kind of smush everything together.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah?
this is very textured. I know we can't get that in the
Yeah.
video of it, but this is really wonderful. It's almost like you've got some decoupage going on up in there.
It's actually it's like a
Medium.
It's
Like a
one of those
gloss
mediums.
medium?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like almost like a sculpting
Oh yeah,
stuff.
gel medium.
Real thin, but
Yep.
it's a nice
Yeah, you can
foundation.
get lots of texture. I mean, you must be doing something to do that gradation down there, the scratches.
Sort of like whatever can go on a canvas, I try to play with because without going overboard, without doing too much, because there's a fine line.
Do you have a name for this?
It's called New You. So
Oh,
this is
okay.
sort of like, and I know it seems simple, but it is really about like this is the old me. It's the idea is that anybody can become a new person, and I don't mean that in any kind of negative way, but like
No,
if
of
you're
course not.
struggling or is there something that's really not going well in your life, or there's things that you need to work through, like it's possible. It's possible to start again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think, sometimes people get stuck in where they're at. And this is all about my journey.
No, of
I don't
course.
like to talk about other people's journeys, but
No,
I want to
yeah.
relate to other people who struggle.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's all about anything on canvas, like stuff has to get out of here
Yeah, of course.
because I'll go nuts.
And then and it communicates.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some cursive going on up in there.
It's actually words. So, and people will say, what does that say? And I'm like, so I've started writing down everything that I write down because it's just in the moment. And
So it's almost like automatic writing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And then I think, what did that say? Like it was so in the moment and I can't get the moment back.
Now
I can't.
let's switch this out so we can get more,
Okay.
talk about more stuff.
Sure.
And this is very exciting.
This one is one of my personal favorites. I love this idea. It's not framed, but it's called the Soul Hustler.
Bring it a little closer.
So it's just this idea that like I'd be this soul hustler, like sort of like somebody who hustler. Like the word has that negative connotation, but that's not how I mean
it has a lot
it.
of connotations.
Yes, that's true.
So
Yeah.
Somebody who's really busy, somebody who's working really
Oh,
hard.
yeah.
So that's a positive side of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people who are doing other kind of hustling, it may not be as positive.
Right.
So
Right.
you said you had some inspirations, and you were talking about Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah. I think his work, I think, sort of broke all the rules. Like things didn't have to always be pretty, and not that his weren't pretty. That's not for me to. I just think there's other ways to represent what's going on with you than the more traditional, which again, there's nothing wrong with the traditional. It's just not who I was in terms of an artist.
But you're also bringing in the graffiti elements, which is kind
Exactly.
of, obviously, we were talking earlier about that's how he started, literally, as a graffiti artist.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love graffiti. I think it's beautiful. I love the colors and the size. I just love how big it, I don't know, it's sort of, you can't not see it. Like
You
where you go.
have your own iconography happening. I can already see patterns repeating. I mean, the wings,
I love
wings
wings.
patterns, and
Wings.
the animals, and the more text. Let's move on to the next one.
This one is about balance. Balance in your life. Just sort of, try to, if you like it, for me, I'll have 1,000 instead of, just a few.
So these are like almost like affirmations, or I mean, you could even, not to put a weird spin on it, but like a wish board or something. Yeah.
But things I need to remember. These are for me. Like I need to remember to balance my life, and it's too much of a good thing is not good. And
Yeah.
too much of a bad thing is really bad, and,
Yes.
and I can go both ways.
So you have all of the affirmation words
Yeah.
in there, balance, and
Even a little
what we
bit.
can
See the
read.
Basquiat crown.
I see that. Yeah, it's like there's no way I could not see
I didn't even
that.
remember I had done that. But then I'll write things that are sort of like always a balance. I says it's
Oh,
always
you got
a balance.
a little magic performance poster. in
Yeah.
there.
I have a bunch of these stickers. I just love these stickers. There's a whole bunch in that
Oh, yeah.
series, and they're
Yeah.
just so neat. I wish I knew. Maybe you have information on where these kind of came from or how they.
The stickers? No, I don't.
Like that type of
no,
art?
No,
Yeah.
no. I'm only drawn to it because, not that it means anything, our living room is full of them. Oh. Not that size, but the full size.
Oh,
ones.
really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really neat, though. Yeah, and just, I don't know, like you can't. Something about not doing it all, or it all down. Well, write it all down. That's another thing. Like, to balance things, you kind of have to know what you're balancing. You have to, like, write whatever's going on in here, like, get it out, and then, okay, figure it out
Now,
from
did you
there.
ever do any writing separate from the
Yes.
art?
I had a blog for 2 years, and I stopped, but I just did my first one again last week.
Oh, great. And what do you write about?
It's for me, my art kind of journey has been parallel to sort of my personal recovery and soul searching and figuring out, what's going on with my life and pulling it all out of here and getting it down. And so my writing is exactly the same.
Oh, I see.
It's sort of like,
But
I can't write about anything. Like, I don't know anything as well as I know.
It's more visual than, more linear than visual.
Yeah.
Let's switch
Yeah.
out so we can keep going.
This one is a little dark, but I love the idea. I am obsessed with New York City, and I'm possibly moving there in the event that the executive order doesn't come through. But this is sort of like, what do you do after dark? So I just sort of like a little bit of, I don't know, that nighttime, like, what do people do when it gets dark? Like, sort of their secret.
Oh, but it's so different now. But I mean,
Yeah.
because I see 83, and of course that's a banner year for me.
Is it?
Being in there, I was. That's when I was in Soho all
Oh,
the
really?
time, yeah.
Oh.
And
I love Soho.
It's so Disneyfied.
Oh, yeah, that's. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shit. It is. It's
Obviously,
too bad.
it's better that it's not as dangerous and violent as it was back then.
Yeah. Was it back then in '83? Soho was.
But, well, not Soho, but I'm talking
but
about the city in general.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
once the money takes over, it kind of drains the soul of the place. But I know that there's still creativity going on.
Yeah.
Not to put it down.
Yeah.
But you got me all nostalgic because of our
Oh.
talk.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'd love to pick your brain about New York, though.
Sure, yeah.
I do have a slight obsession with New York City, and I did decide to move there recently, and then the executive order came by, and I was like, huh.
Oh, it's so expensive.
So I know that is a factor.
We got time for one more.
Okay, that's perfect. So this is, sometimes I used to say certain words were like hokey, like, oh God, stop, like when people say, oh, just smile, or just get over. It like does something. I just think, and hope has always kind of been that we're like, oh, hope is so hokey. However,
Yeah, you could put dream or.
Yes,
Yeah,
dream, and those words. It's not. But I found that the more that I've done the work and the soul searching,
you kind of break the mold because you
Yeah.
use those homilies, but you make it on your level, and
Yeah,
your
thank
wings are
you.
back.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like I have a freedom now that I've never had. The more that I've sort of been able to process certain things that have happened.
We have to end with that, though.
Okay.
And thank you so much for showing up. This went by way too quickly.
That was fast. Okay, thank
Right.
you very much. I appreciate
Thank you,
it, Wayne.
of course.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, we're here with our next guest, Jeanne Bundy. Thank you for being on the show. We met kind of circuitously
Yes.
because I know you as part of an art team,
Right.
and you had written a book that had been illustrated with your direction by Cynthia Fontaine.
Correct.
And
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with all your creative and even your spiritual stuff.
God, how many minutes do we have now?
We only have a few minutes. I know we've already been talking for like half an hour.
I know. So, I think a lot of it, I've always had some kind of art in me, whatever it was. My mom always did art at home. When I was a hairdresser for 45 years. So I love to dye people's hair. As you can tell, the purple in the back.
Yeah.
I love to do color. I was a colorist, all those things. Then it was time to retire. And COVID had hit. My husband had passed away right before COVID. We were all in lockdown. And so I decided that I was not a writer at the time at all, but I've written 3 books.
Wow.
And so I did all the artwork with this one. This is Beyond Goodbye, Living in the Experience.
Hold it vertically.
Oh, okay.
You can actually
Okay.
hold it so that Myris can get a picture of you
All
in
right,
the
and
book.
so I did all this art. I designed the cover, and of course in the back there's artwork as well that I had done many times before. At least it was supposed to be in here. I guess this is a new one. They didn't put it in.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it all started. I decided I would
Well,
draw.
we've got to talk a little bit about the book.
Oh, the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So the book is, I lost my husband very unexpectedly. He had a heart attack on the kitchen floor. It was right before Christmas. And so that kind of threw my whole world into a loop, We had been married for over 40 years, 43 years. And so my whole life changed. Then we went into lockdown a few weeks later.
Oh my
And
God.
so
Wow.
so I have 2 sons. We had 2 sons, but they don't live near me. They were away, and of course they couldn't get to me. I couldn't get to them. We were all locked up, basically in our houses forever. I had the cat and I had the birds outside. So when the cat got tired of just talking to me, I sent me out to the birds, right? And it's back and forth. Anyways, I found that what was happening with me with emotions and learning all this different ideas that were happening within me, I would just write in a journal over and over again, all these different things. And I decided that, well, out of this should come something to help others, right? I am all for people going to therapy. When someone passes away, I am all for all kinds of help. If you need it, then you go. My book I wrote was for people to understand that it's okay to have these different emotions, but understand where they're coming from. Grief, right?
Yeah.
Understanding that your life changes quite a bit, and you have to be willing to change with it, right? Because we can't stay stuck. I was no more the daughter, because my mom had passed away a few months before that as well. So I lost everybody.
Well, your role in life completely changed.
Exactly.
You had to find a new footing.
I had to find a new life. I had to find a new way to be. And you don't realize it until when we could actually go to the grocery stores. I went in and I just was putting like standard stuff that I could put in, right? I looked down and I said, what am I going to do with those steaks? I've been a vegetarian.
Exactly.
I can't tell you for
Yeah.
how many years. I was
Yeah,
buying
you were doing
just
everything by
remote.
rote. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's when I knew that life had to change. My whole life was a different way of being, and it was a different puzzle. The pieces might have been the same, but they didn't fit quite right. So I was sitting there one night, and of course I was getting a little bit depressed.
Yeah.
And I would watch TV all day long because
Sure.
there was nothing much to do during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
There was no one to talk to. I didn't hear a human voice for
Well,
years.
there must have been some kind of a bridge between writing in a journal and then coming out with a book.
Well, that was when I decided to do that. I kept writing in the journal, and then I pulled the journal apart, and I took out the pieces that I thought would be helpful for others.
Now, literally, or just
Literally.
like cutting them up?
Literally, yeah, I did.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
took the pages and I cut the pieces I liked, and then I pieced it together, and then I went to an editor.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you found an editor?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I found an editor online, and I said, these are my words.
Mm-hmm.
I want it in small bites, because people that are going through grief, they don't want these big long books. They want to understand that if they're feeling jealous over someone else's grandchildren, it's a normal feeling, right? It's normal to feel, and it's okay to feel. You know, so anyways.
So it's kind of a collection of observations
Absolutely.
about of your
Absolutely.
your movement and your
also
process.
Wait, about making choices. I learned that I could make different choices. Like, I have 2 sons. I had my husband. It was a male-dominated household. My husband was in the military. We traveled all over the world.
Yep.
So all the colors were very subdued in my house. I mean, we didn't do pinks. We didn't do purples, right? So the first thing I did was when I walked into the master bathroom, I said, I need to make a change. And I took out all the dark rugs and I put in pink rugs. That was like a liberation. It was a small thing to do, but it was a choice that was for me.
It's not something you would have done if your husband was still with
Absolutely
you.
not, because let's face it, when you're married or when you're with a lot of people or all that, you make choices that they would like as well.
Yeah, there's
Right.
always compromises.
Of course. So so at this point, one night I was sitting there, I was watching one of the shows, and how my artwork started was years ago. My mom used to make flowers out of little miniature roses, out of glycerin and white bread. And then she would get food coloring.
What?
Yeah, she would
Okay,
get
this is a
food
new one
coloring.
on me.
Yes, she would get food coloring, and she would put it together, and then she would make these little tiny roses. Well, I saw a commercial, and now they call it like Sculpey. You know, they have clay that does that.
Well, Sculpey,
right?
yeah, that's been around forever.
So that's how I started. I ordered
It's
it
something
online.
you can, it's air dried.
Absolutely.
But I didn't know you
Air-dried
could
clay.
do that with bread, of course.
Yeah, white bread. You take off the crust, and you let it dry out, and then she would put white glue and glycerin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she would make it harden. She made her
that
own.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, right?
Because that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's how it started. I started making all the roses again, and it was something clicked inside. It was like part of you when you go through grief dies. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Your emotions, whatever, and going through all of what was happening. That was the little light that went on. It was like, oh, I can do something. I can do something while I'm sitting here. I can make something beautiful.
Well, it's something to do with your hands.
Exactly,
It keeps
your
mind
mind,
occupied,
right?
and it keeps your
So
eyes.
that's how I got into multidimensional art.
Okay, we want to start showing some stuff.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And this is what I'm talking about, multidimensional art. This is done with pieces of, this is rope. This is rope. And these are paintings I did. And what I did was it has some clay. So everything I do is always 3D.
Uh-huh.
It's always 3D. These are real crystals. Now, whenever you put real crystals on artwork, because remember, it's a living thing, you have to be careful and conscious of the glue that you use.
Right.
And this is glue that is made for crystals.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise you're like, it's like you're burning them.
Yeah, you can't hot glue them.
No. They
Yeah,
won't stay on
it's
anyways.
It's not going to work with Elmer's glue.
No. So this was my interpretation of a sunrise. So that's one way of doing some things. This is the other one. This is another one. And this one is all done. I drew the trees. And then I decided to put in some texture. This is with plaster Paris. With the stuff you do around the toilets, you caulking.
Yeah, caulking. Sure.
Yeah, that type of stuff. And so then I painted it.
And you got some glitter going on in there.
Got some glitter. I mixed in some glitter into the caulking. I put the different colors in. And so then these are actually paint strips. These are actually paint pourings I did on silicone.
Okay.
And you let it dry. And so when you do that on a silicone sheet, you can pull it off. It becomes like rubber.
Oh, okay.
And then you can use them in your paintings.
Now, did you?
They call them skins.
Now, we were talking earlier about how you have a lot of inspiration and you take a lot of classes from the internet. Did you learn these techniques?
Some of them I did. Some of them I learned. I went through YouTube and I said, oh, that's pretty cool to learn. And then I would make it my own. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, this is done with a straw.
Yes, I remember seeing a painting that you had.
Right. This is done with a straw. It's a version of a paint pour. Only thing what you do is you mix the colors and then you actually blow it with a straw and allow you take a deep breath and allow just whatever's going to come through to come through.
Now, I can't visualize how to do that.
All right, so picture the painting's going to be flat, right? And so then I will pick out a color palette. Usually, as you can tell, I like purples and blues and all that stuff. And I'll make a circle. And I'll just pile the colors on top. and then with a straw, a paper straw.
Oh, so wait a minute. Are you working with acrylic paint?
Acrylic paint, yeah.
And are you?
This is resin over it. 'Cause I do resin
So are you
too.
using a something to make the paint more liquid?
I mix the paint myself.
Okay.
So I'll mix it with usually
medium?
water.
Just water to
Usually
get it?
water, yeah. I like the water. I used to do the Floetrol and stuff. Sometimes I'll do that, but sometimes I just use it with water. Some people actually use PVC glue as well and water, and it thins out the paint. So yeah, no, it's not right out of the
you
tube.
need a medium, and
Yeah.
then when you have the paint down, you blow into it to get the shapes.
Yep. Yeah.
And then it gets. So is this down to the basic?
Yeah. So
canvas?
I'll put white paint on first, right?
Okay.
Because you need something to allow the paint to flow.
Right.
Because if you put it on dry canvas, it's just going to be dried.
No, of course.
So if you put it on a base, and then I'll use
Now,
whatever.
Do you treat the canvas first? Is that?
No, because no, because the white paint will.
So the white paint is basically acting as your base.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then you add color on top of it,
Yep. And then
you
I just
the-
get a paper straw.
And how do you get these?
Then I take
Because this is more than just blowing paint onto it.
I will, but then I'll take a toothpick and sometimes I'll make some swirls.
All right, so
You know, yeah. Or else, but like these little things up and through here, that's all just blown with the that's just blown with the straw. There's no
Okay.
toothpicks. Maybe that little one, yeah, but no, mostly it's all blown with the straw. And then this one, I actually did some varnish on it because I wanted it to be shiny because it sits in my kitchen. 'cause
Yeah,
my
so
kitchen's
I
purple.
mean, I've known people who've done paint pouring, and I mean, I know people
Oh,
that
yeah.
actually make a living doing like oceanscapes.
Oh yeah, I do those all the time. They're all in my bathroom.
Yeah, they're
As a matter of fact, that's what I
huge, and
sold
it's
at
like-
the art thing. Was the
Oh, yeah.
Now this one's really cool. This is actually hot glue.
Okay.
This is hot glue. This is actually a texture of, I think it was a paper towel. I put underneath it, and it was a gauze I had
No, wait,
around
the paper
house.
towel is still in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
and then I
you-
took stucco, and then I just stuccoed it.
So you're basically you're incorporating like craft techniques and even
Absolutely.
industrial techniques.
You got it.
Okay.
And it makes it unique, makes it different. As a matter of fact, I just finished a 4-foot wall hanging with 2 trees that I drew, and it's all in glass and in wood and stones and all there. It's enormous and it's beautiful.
Do you have a special glue for stones and glass?
I actually did it with resin, UV resin. I resined them right on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Resin.
so it's
That's,
beautiful. It's heavy, but it's beautiful.
Oh.
But yeah, so anybody can do art. You don't need a whole lot of preamp to do anything. Just use your imagination and allow your imagination to soar.
you fill your day. We didn't even get to
Absolutely.
the meditation.
I know, all that other
We didn't even
stuff.
get to talk about AI and its
I
pros and
know,
cons.
goodness gracious. Well, there's always next time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you
Thank you.
coming by and participating and sharing this with us.
Thank you
And,
so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And that wraps it up for another episode of Art Matters. And I'm your host, Wayne Quackenbush. And we'll see you next time. Keep being creative.